Everyone, please turn off now, please. Those who first. Buy electric cars strictly for practical reasons. Secondly, have no love for retro charm. And thirdly, think I talk too much. That will be thoroughly explored in this video, but rest assured, I will also provide you with extensively detailed information on the Renault 5 Turbo's perfect reincarnation. Better! Couldn't that have been done, folks? And we're not just talking about great design here, but I will tell you everything about this car that I've stored here, which is quite impressive, especially in terms of resource conservation and kinder surprises this car holds because it's very small, yet, for example, it has a very large trunk. More on that soon. If too small, perhaps opt for E-Tech from Renault if owning a Renault spline. And you'll discover that on eView we have exactly 789 Renault models listed. Among them, of course, the Zoe too. On seeing this, you won't want the Zoe anymore. Promised! So please check out Evium. There you can even also sell your Zoe because indeed we do have a reliable partner through which you can sell your electric car. It could in fact very possibly be right there waiting very extremely patiently at your very own door this particular year indeed. Welcome to Car Maniac. Porsche has called. They said they want their Taycan headlight back. Not criticism, not at all, I think it's mega cool, but it reminds me of the headlight of the new Porsche Taycan, where it's also closed like that. What's directly quite awesome, and you might indeed surely notice, just look, this LED graphic is somehow uniquely projected to the front, more or less. It's not exactly traditional projection, rather it's a very, very thin LED, positioned either right on the front or quite subtly in between two layers of glass. It simply looks freaking amazing. Glass inside, they really don't think gender glass. So, on the glass. Inside, that's what I meant. You can also find a tiny French flag here. Take a look at how charming this looks. Love for detail, folks. And then this small, tiny battery charge level indicator. How cool can you really make that? On the hood, never seen anything like it. The car warmly greets you as you approach. It then realizes, okay, here comes my owner. And it illuminates these 5, just because that is what is in the foreground, the 5 of the Renault 5. How can a car be adapted so awesomely, I really wonder, earnestly. First, let's look at the front, before technical details. So, we have right here in front of us the Renault logo. It's very flat. So everything is really very nice and round, curvy, yet looks quite robust. Just perfectly reminiscent indeed of that very old one. Here we indeed have yet another unique square LED light. David says it looks like one of those Instagrammer cameras. You know, the ones with the camera in the middle and then this ring around it so you're lit up. I find this fascinating play of light to be very, very beautiful indeed, just like this color here. That's actually 1 out of 5 colors. I'll now show you what other colors are available for this car. There's, well, a distinct black, there's white, there's a very aggressive green. By aggressive, I don't mean bad, it's a free color with shimmer. Then, of course, last but not least, yellow, telling you now I'd take it in yellow, maybe even in bright white, because then the contours stand out even better in combination with these black applications. Yes, piano lacquer can be a bit tricky, but white is a bit less eye-catching, but maybe that's exactly what you want with this car. Like with the Lancia Delta Integral, it was red or yellow too. Truly amazing. For instance, actually this red is matte. I like it immensely much. We've got black, red, yellow, beautiful game. Such a bold design, just like this here. This Renault logo. This pentagon-shaped badge, right here's the charging flap, and the excellent news is that it starts directly with 18-inch wheels. So 18 inches clearly is the base size, giving the car a certain sportiness. And the base rims have actually these hubcaps. They look a bit like the ones on the Golf 1 back in the day. So like really aerodynamic with sharp spikes atop. Great for hubcaps. But those who are not wanting hubcaps simply choose alloys like we see here. I'm really not a huge fan of this one either. And as mentioned, the piano finish is quite questionable if you take it through the car wash. Perhaps you should opt for a hand wash instead, because it will get scratched. So you'll definitely see the car wash streaks in that case. Please take a closer look under the hood, folks, because it truly does come down to the question of a single franc every time. And let's see what awaits us here. I can't seem to find the lever right now. Yes, there it is. So unfortunately, we don't have one. We only have here at the front the engine, one of 3 in fact. So you have 3 engines to choose from. We also don't have an electric hood lift. I do find it a bit unfortunate with this car, actually. Yes, with the Dacia Spring Electric, I get it. Here, though, I would have liked a hood lift, although that, of course, harks back to the original model in a classic way. It's the question. Who's buying this? People who from back then, so this total fanatical, né? Renaissance thinking have then say, I want to crack this too, to remember the old, or those say, I want something modern. So no Frank here in front, no space for it. Basically, if you're looking to retrofit something, mentioned it, just went ahead and shut it very smoothly. Did you catch that? A very heavy hood, the car isn't. Now kindly get to that. So honestly, in the vehicle data, it's totally convincing. So we have 3 engines to choose from, 70 kilowatt, 90 kilowatt, or 110 kilowatt. That would actually be in conversion. 90 HP, 110 HP, or 150 HP. No, 120 HP, the middle option, sorry. 90, 120, and also 150 HP options. Offer certain power output ranges. Engines, particularly the lower ones. Come equipped with batteries for 40 kilowatt hours. The big battery, 52, and that means, amusingly, in the WLTP, that's how I saw it. With the small battery, you manage 300 kilometers WLTP, and with the big battery, 400 kilometers. This means with its 12 kilowatt hours more, it achieves 100 kilometers more, which means it can cleverly do 100 kilometer WLTP on just 12 kilowatt hours. I also find it not so far-fetched, actually. This car consumes 12 kilowatt hours in the city, not too powerful with 150 horsepower, driven on the front axle. You will manage, and then you will cover this distance too. You can then decide which battery you want. And what really impressed me about the battery topic is first, the whole car, battery, all included, completely made in Europe, to be precise, in France. This matters a lot to those who won't buy the amazing cars on the market, like the smart #1 on a Geely platform, because they don't want anything from China. It's a matter of belief, a personal philosophy, and for those individuals, the great news is it's produced entirely in France. From 2025, I believe, the battery as well. And that is, of course, a wonderful thing if you have something directly European and thereby naturally support the European market economy. By 2030, Renault aims to cut CO2 emissions by 35% with this car, ensuring a significantly smaller footprint than that of the Zoe. And the Zoe, after all, is not just about sheer waste, but really a very pragmatic, very nice car. Really focused intently on the essential things, and yet they aim to consume 35% less by the year 2030. So, that's one thing. The car will accelerate from 0 to 100 in under 8 seconds with the bigger engine. That's more than enough. The question is it enough for you to only hit 150 km/h on the highway? Feel free to answer that in the comments for me, but I definitely see this car as a potential second vehicle. And even if not, when you do actually travel with it, well, we've already talked about that with David. He said if that range issue persists, it won't ever expand at all. Tricky indeed with the constantly evolving, quite complex and diverse landscape of electric mobility, it remains a significant challenge. Just in dense urban traffic conditions there, actually the battery size is quite indeed more than sufficient. You can of course choose to hit the highway as well. We've got, for instance, level 2 driving assistance systems on board here. So adaptive cruise control, a speed limiter, and steering assist. That's great, and then you just need to understand that you can hit your 150 km/h, but that's not too shabby either. At the end of the day, it'll probably guzzle quite a bit. And for charging, you have the option of either 80 kilowatt charging power or 100 kilowatt. Choosing the small battery enables charging at 80 kilowatt, while opting for the large one allows charging with 100 kilowatt. And with that, in just about 30 minutes, from 15 to 80% it should go. It works quite well. With this car, not always. This isn't just a mere highway cruiser, but rather it's the perfect urban vehicle to totally maximize, standing out in a positive way. It's that typical car that gets noticed, yet despite the German envy culture, people simply give it a thumbs up. And I think that's only fair. Here's another fun fact about the battery. Now guess in the comments how much the battery weighs. That's really fascinating. I would have never thought that. Batteries are famously heavy, but here it's actually not the case. The big battery weighs 280 kilos, that's the 52 kilowatt hour battery, and the smaller one something around 240, definitely just a bit less, and that brings us to a total vehicle weight of exactly 1350 kilos with the small battery variant, and exactly 1450 kilos with the big battery. And that is really, genuinely, truly, really low for electric vehicles. So it's truly considered as a notably lightweight car, and with 150 horsepower, it's quite peppy. By the way, the Type 2 charging system goes up to 11 kilowatt if you actually decide to connect to a dedicated wall box or choose to connect to a public charging station. Then the battery is restored back to full in about 4.5–5 hours. Let's have a closer look at the back here. Once again, the perfect adaptation, even with this on the side. Do you remember? And then I just love how they've integrated this modern LED with this matte finish. Yes, it's so beautiful. And here too, two reversing lights, no budget charm, going in reverse, not just one side illuminates or some light down here. Take a really good look at this rear end. That's exactly how you adapt this car to fit into modern times. It's just slightly less aggressive than the Renault 5 Turbo was back then. Nonetheless, it is actually simply just the way that they did the lettering. That's totally atypical, right? Not just sticking the letters on here, but there. Ordering it without a logo in the end isn't at all considerable. Renault 5 truly looks very good, doesn't it? Remarkably, no car pulls to the side or exhibits behavior like that, which is honestly very impressive, isn't it? The Renault 5 can tow 500 kilos, probably because of the 500 kilos. Not just the world, but you can tow something, especially a garden trailer. No idea. What else could you possibly tow? The entire neighborhood's kids with a sled. No, of course, you shouldn't do that. But you can definitely tow something. Here end, wiper, that's also a crucial point for many. And now we move on to another exceedingly interesting point. That's exactly how Renault, from a vehicle exactly precisely 3.92 meters, just under 4 meters quite clearly, has managed to craft a trunk, or a remarkably designed trunk volume of manages to get 326 liters. That's something, isn't it? Take a look at this. I'll go ahead and quickly take this out. There, can you see it? There's not so much space here, but it nicely goes down instead. What do we have under here? Probably nothing, right? Shouldn't be removed. So this is your car trunk, not exactly a travel car, but it has 326 liters of trunk volume. Just for comparison, Volvo EX30, a car that's 4.23 meters long. So it's even 3 centimeters longer than the Renault Megane E-Tech. It has 318 liters trunk volume, so it's smaller than this one. Then you can even split it 60 to 40. Reach here, it really should be quite doable for short people too, because it's quite close. And then you can fold it down like this if you ever go to the furniture store or whatever. You can fold this down. But of course, you'll need to push the seat back. However, we also have here a rather unpleasant step, although I indeed hardly dare to use the word unpleasant for this car, given that this car has a certain... Yes, I genuinely don't even have any specific idea what to call it, such an edge, excuse me. No, just a much higher tolerance for these things. Because to me, charm really plays such an incredibly huge role with this car. And charm truly doesn't end here, folks. We, in fact, don't have an electric tailgate. But the charm really continues inside. That's what I want to show you now. Because that's precisely where it truly gets to me. You see, I'm quite frankly a very huge fan of retro seats, and absolutely no other electric vehicle offers you as much in the way of retro seating and intense retro charm inside as this specific one does. Come along. I don't know what year you were born, and I don't know if you're familiar with old cars, but that was the charm of the old seats. How can they make a modern car with such awesome seats? Check this out. The fabric essentially takes you back, quite. The build indeed takes back. These side bolsters here, this specific leg support, it's like sitting in a Lancia Delta Integral Turbo or in, I don't know, a Golf GTI, since back then they had really comfy seats too. Yes, and they transported this foam so well. And what you see here, for instance, are ISOFIX points at the front. Why awesome? Well, if 3 kids, you can still use it as a city car since you've got 3. Child seats with ISOFIX attachments. That's actually important. I think it's awesome. And this here is the iconic equipment. There are 3 equipment levels. I will show you all the color schemes available. This one is, let us say, the highest, the iconic. Chic. However, when perfectly matching up the car's very own individual and unique color, this particular approach unmistakably turns into an even more especially recognizable and significantly more distinguishing and noticeable accent feature, which truly stands out quite remarkably. It's not quite the same yellow, you notice that on the door, when you directly compare the paintwork of the door with the door fabric. It's a different yellow, no matter. So it's yellow, period. That's how it looks. And indeed, these seats are fantastic. I'm 6'2", not exactly slender, have excellent lateral support, so I can easily imagine tearing around the corners in this. What they've not done, in a Renault 5 Turbo way, meaning not really aggressive, is the steering. It's somewhat like a Renault Velsatis or a Scenic, because in my perspective, the steering wheel seems a bit too elegant for this car. So it looks, well, a bit, it somewhat removes a bit of sportiness, which is otherwise so characteristic of the vehicle. The buttons are still tactile, yet they have the visual appearance of touch buttons, but are tactile. You can hear it As I press on it, it's nice. You can control everything from here. You have another separate button here, feels very nice. Yeah, down here with these bumps. So the leather, but it is not really leather. Feels like it though. This is a high quality steering wheel. I like it a lot. It's just too for the rest. Elegant indeed for the rest of it. Before diving into this matter, let us quickly talk about the door. I find it quite nice that they adorned the window lift with a rather small, intricate metal application, because it elevates the whole thing to a different level. Not that much plastic really, around here quite a bit of it, but sadly it's the same in an i5, iX2, Mini Countryman. Yes, and in these vehicles, you know, there's just too much plastic, and with just a small thin metal strip, you can most surely do something. The armrest is still covered with this particular faux leather here. And then when you openly open the door, there's hard plastic down here. But okay, it's clear. However, here the edge is very, very low. So the edge is exactly that much in the end, which means if you put something in here, it could happen. Careful, if you brake, it might fly out and get under the pedal. That's a bit inelegant. Otherwise, these ridges here, I find them quite nice because it kind of plays with the plastic. Up here, unfortunately, there's hard plastic, but at least they've added some perforation here so it doesn't look entirely like delivery van plastic. And then this beautiful fabric, I really, really like that too. So now onto the rest of the cockpit. Here, it is really very nice, isn't it? Yes, that they made it all wavy here, really like it's upholstered with the yellow accent contour stitching. Here, with the illuminated Renault 5 logo, and once again, an ambient light underneath. This up here is plastic, but hey folks, you know, I'm an absolute opponent of plastic. But anyone who buys a Renault 5 Turbo from back then is indeed buying it. First, they must have a thick wallet because they cost well over 100,000. And they also live with the fact that there's plastic everywhere. It's more about the passion, about the renaissance of the car. So here, forgive the plastic bit, there's not much anyway. Especially in my particular vertical field of view, everything's quite lovely here, this and such. I actually find that to be really quite nice. The display, 10 inches, this particular display is also truly exceptionally high resolution. And the best news hasn't truly arrived just yet. You're witnessing a demo version of the whole concept. And this demo mode will show you right away what you see here, the layout. Here you see, for example, the energy flow, because, you know, grids are on the sides. You can, without any doubt at all, certainly adjust it, obviously, to quite effectively pre-temper. We have a heat pump as standard equipment. It actually generates 8 kW, and that's quite a lot. Then here we've got this fellow, this buddy, specifically named Renault, not Renault as this one here, but exactly like Jean Renault, the critically acclaimed actor R-E-N-O. And this is a personal assistant, to which you can say, for instance, hey Renault, please set the charging for 8 a.m. tomorrow, sort of like the departure time. Then Renault or whatever it wants to be called does that. So this is the personal assistant, and here it's set, so to speak, for 8 a.m. If you said, hey Renault, charge for 8 a.m. and then precondition as well. Here you see the battery level, range, a nice display, beautiful animations. We've got stars in the background. And here we have this OpenR link. This is the system that's behind it. And the really, really good news is what I'm about to say. It's like I've almost memorized it, but I haven't, so I'm experiencing it right along with you. Is, in our landscape, a system like Google's eTag, Electric Vehicle Challenge, often proprietary or varied technologies, not smooth, efficient, or reliable, underscoring improvement. Here you have the Google Maps navigation system. We know just how smoothly that works. Can't show now with zoom in, zoom out, but you know it from your phone. Just Google Maps, because it's the most reliable form of navigation. It's specially adapted, so for an electric car, so this is for you. Just as we've seen with the innovative Volvo EX30. And state-of-the-art Polestar models using Google, adeptly planning the most efficient charging routes and functions. I really do hope that Renault gets very lost here, so then I can show you all this. Here you also see the correct Google search. By the way, I find it very interesting to switch on the display here. Yes, please don't do it now. I think you can't even do it now. You can indeed raise volume here. I find it cool. So it's actually not too bad. And then you've got the Google navigation, media, and stuff right here. And then you have the air conditioning display right here. You don't need to access separately via the button, but can control from here. And that I really appreciate. I especially like tactile buttons in a retro car, ones that I can touch, especially with metal on them, I find super cool. Yes, setting the defrost to maximum, then that airflow is adjusted as needed here for comfort purposes, and that locking feature for the vehicle, which in my opinion is great. If we take a brief quick look down just a bit, we'll certainly notice really a lot of hard plastic indeed. It has to be said at this point, I'm not exactly thrilled about it being so extreme here because, as you can see, it really shows, yes, the charging dock is down here. For instance, you could put a phone on it. Then you see, go ahead and charge there, but not now since demo mode. Has good space though, has good space indeed. Doesn't fall out either. That's the good part, neither when accelerating nor in turns. That's not a given either. And right down here, we have yet another spacious compartment where you can put something in. Now, really two incredibly cool, amazing things I've been dying to show or tell you about. You can actually incorporate such gadgets into the car. They serve as storage. They are made with a 3D printer, and then you can put different mounts here, or what I'm a huge fan of. I'll show you right here in this overlay. It's a croissant container. That might not be quite as important in Germany because really no, not croissant, sorry, a baguette. A baguette basket, which you can clip on here on the passenger side with a clip like this. And then you have here such a beautiful woven baguette basket. You can put the baguette in here. It has more of that charm if you're living in France, not in Germany. For the wife, or the slip up, for the woman, not for the mistress. Look here. We don't have a cheap roof, but rather this beautiful felt roof. I think so too. And this baguette holder and these 3D printing items really impress me. What impresses me is personalization, because funnily enough, we have this gear shift here, and it really does look quite exceptionally cool because it also has a truly distinctive and unique shape. Not just plastic, we've got this piece of glass here. This very specific thing you can customize. That means you can actually take off this top part that you see horizontally right here, this very piece, so to speak, with a special tool. And then you're free to go ahead and put on your personalized custom options. And you can sort of, as a replacement, you see it right on the overlay, stick it on here as a replacement. Then just add some color or maybe individuality simply right here again. What's missing, sadly, are paddle shifters. It's somewhat disappointing given the recovery levels here. I would have liked to have paddle shifters for recuperation here. That would have been important to me. So very appealing, very nicely inclined towards the driver. Very large display here, very large display there. And just a Google operating system, which will simply make your life massively easier. And the cool part is we've got the integration of ChatGPT right here too. What that includes, I have already demonstrated to you with the new Golf 8. Don't expect any very big miracles, but it truly does then rely on Wikipedia. That means you can tell me a story, or no idea really. You can ask any variety of interesting questions that a car normally can't answer with its advanced cloud service. And I think that's really cool. Or things like, yeah, no idea, hey Renault, precondition the car for 8 a.m. tomorrow. ChatGPT, that's integrated as well too. Now I really want to see what the space looks precisely like exactly right behind me. I'll just adjust the seat as if I were sitting here, like this. What about steering wheel adjustment? Let's also look at that moment, because you want to know how it works. We can use the telescope and we can move up and down. That's important. With the Nissan Leaf then, you could only telescope, not elevate. Then the headrest here. You can pull it up to here, and you definitely have a good headrest here. Also acts as a very good supportive barrier in case of a rear impact event. And I do still have 2 fingers, or at least 1 finger, space left above to the roof. With a height of 1.88 meters, I'm really sitting in a nice cockpit here. And I have a small, so to say, tiny looking hood in front of me, which also makes it all the more cool. And I also see this display, this charging display on the hood, because it forms its own separate bump. It's right there before your very eyes. It has charm, very, very unique. And these seats, I mean, I'm just totally into them. I really, truly dig them. Also, by the way, interior materials, a lot of recycling, which is also very important. I really do think the way that Renault has chosen is exceptionally, wonderfully great. Now let's sit in the back. We can do that live, just like this. Let's not decide to cut now. Upon further observation, you'll see the doorknob unusually high, which stands out, so please go back a bit because it's odd. Here we have the doorknob seen in several cars already. I would have preferred a bit less plastic here though. I don't like the plastic here, it disrupts the rest of the car where we have piano finish. Why haven't they, for example, just in terms of design, made this in red? Or just this knob red? Likely because the vertical disrupts the horizontal. I do know, but here in this very specific place, at the very least, I truly dislike it. Now let us take a deeper look inside, and this is what it looks like now. I'd like to, maybe still take someone a bit taller with me in the back and not tell them, no, you simply just can't ride in my new electric car, unfortunately. That means Somehow it has to work. I don't have high expectations with 3.92 meters. Let's not forget that fact. So we're far from vehicle sizes, like Smart and the likes. But I somehow fit in here. It's not a space miracle, though. So, with 326 liters of trunk space in 3.92 meters length, and plenty of room up front, you'll pay the price for it eventually. The primary focus, undeniably and unmistakably, was strategically and thoughtfully placed, emphasizing optimal comfort and space for the front passengers clearly. I can't shove my feet under either. Eventually, something will block me, won't fit them under. I could ride along here, but I'd rather not do that on the highway until the next charging stop, which probably, let's just say, with this battery size, yes, comes after about maybe 200 kilometers. Maybe even 230, 40, depending on your usual drive. Too much for me back here, though. I actually find that quite really lovely. It adds, even without a glass roof, to the retro charm as well. Look at this. Yes, it does indeed look quite awesome. Much, much better than just some very smooth, soulless material. So that's what I mean, really, you see. You can play with materials. It doesn't have to be Alcantara or leather right away, but you simply play with the materials. Faux leather in back, quickly noticed. So neoprene material truly, but no hard plastic. And of course, the always obligatory ISOFIX points, which are very accessible. I think that's great. However, you can kiss goodbye. So putting an ISOFIX station here is a no-go. Unless you push the seat all the way forward, but you're not fitting one here anyway, unless Danny DeVito is in the driver's seat because the base won't fit. A normal child seat, yes, but I find myself wondering, driving with kids in the back, like my son, who is simply unable to bend his legs, because sadly, they're just a little bit too short. Should sit here, because where does he put them? Because they're almost stretched out of the seat, as his bottom is right here at the back, and his leg length isn't enough for this. And then he constantly has his feet back here, which in the event of a collision isn't good because, yes, the body then compresses. The feet should indeed ideally be placed down or not on the seat. I'm not seeing great odds for that right here. Just take a look. Light from back here overhead. So, it's a fundamentally charming principle. And with that, I'd like to move on to the conclusion. My dear friends, and you, I'd really like to bring just one thing to your attention. Just wait a moment. And that is, could you just please check this one single thing? How exactly does the door sound now, right? Yes, it might indeed sound a bit more muffled, I do suppose. A bit more muffled, just a bit more, but this is nitpicking at a high level. We've got blind spot detectors, as mentioned, L2 assistance systems, top-notch and ready for the freeway. Just a little hint for you guys, please check, because I don't know myself. With Renault, I actually don't think so, but I could be wrong if Renault has released the interface for Eon. Since we're on this subject, it could be your first electric car. And Eon is giving you a wall box and smart meter. Why should you sign for their electricity? Indeed, why then do that? Because first, you get a 1-year price guarantee. Second, they're on extremely competitive market levels, just like at my home. Exactly the same as what I pay at the municipal utilities. And when you charge your car, and give the car plenty of time to charge, then IONT rewards you with small credits of 10 cents per kilowatt hour. You won't pay 35 cents anymore, instead 25 cents. Not 30, but now 20 cents per kilowatt hour if the car fully charges. This operation is seamlessly conducted through trading. By doing it just like trading, purchasing, and selling. The more time they have, the more you benefit. No need to worry about charging stations. You'll get that from IONT along with a smart meter. And as mentioned, there's a car finder. There you can check if your car is supported by it. My Mercedes example, sadly, no, won't share the interface. BMW, on the other hand, does. So it's very different. Exactly, that's all for the Renault Saint. Yes, just like the French say here, a insanely beautiful car, especially in this yellow. So the car's a perfect fit. Cool, huh? Looks really cool. That's important for a lot of people too. Let's turn on the vehicle's headlight as well, because honestly, I actually haven't done that yet to see how it visually looks. Is it on? Now it is. How does it look? The lighting is totally... I am Porsche. Well, sure, Porsche has these 4 dots. I think light, when a car is coming towards you, is really important for how a car appears. Does it make the car seem wider or not? That really does look cool. Though it has a bit of a halogen charm, don't you think? Because the light spreads so much here. It's actually LED though, but I like the mirrors. Yes, exactly the mirrors, because halogen always works with mirrors. That, so to speak, the halogen bulb is up here and the mirrors then distribute it. LED, truly indeed, very much so. Just precisely exactly LED. I find that a bit improper, but this here saves the day. This little cube inside, it really looks good. And then, of course, this here looks pretty cool too. Got parking beeps on deck, which is awesome. What we, unfortunately, couldn't actually try out ourselves because of. The demo mode is a rear view camera, but was beneath the sign, but I would have liked to try it. We're still driving the car, so today isn't the end of everything. That's how the saying goes. And that's why I'm really excited to drive this car, to see what it also consumes on the highway. I'm quite curious about that. I will follow up. That's why it's worth subscribing to the channel, so you won't miss out on all these videos in this February-March shower of videos. Yes, I jet from one city to the next, so to speak, in order to really show you everything. Among others, the Renault 5. Just recently, the Dacia Spring Electric re-edition. ID models, BMWs, two-wheelers, everything included. So, it's very exciting. Please do subscribe, and please don't forget, you can always skip. If something isn't to your liking now, a topic because you're familiar or it doesn't interest you, or product recommendation like that with ions, let me tell you a crazy trick. That doesn't even require a university degree. So you can just tap away. Are you like this on the screen? On the PC, simply skip ahead 10, 20, 30, 40 seconds. And indeed, it takes much less time than writing a rather long and detailed comment on the ads. Yes, so please be a bit understanding. I only slept 4 hours last night, came from Lisbon, and filmed the Spring Electric at night, now this one this morning. Money must come from somewhere, else it all makes no sense. So you can skip or just subscribe, it makes me really happy. And all the info can be found down in the description box on just about everything I talk about. That was precisely it, the iconic Renault 5. With the most perfect and stylish retro future adaptation of electric mobility. Thanks for watching, bye.